Hello, everyone. Mandy Ravicchio here, Senior Content Creator with Michael Hyatt and Company. I want to welcome you to this special webinar with Michael Hyatt, the 7 Deadly Sins of Productivity. You guys are absolutely in the right place for the webinar, and we're going to be getting started in just a moment. But first, we would love to get to know you. So go ahead and find the chat area that's on your control panel and let us know where you're joining us from today. We would love to know where you guys are signing in from. It's amazing when we do these webinars. We see folks come from all across the globe, which we absolutely love. I'm seeing lots of people from all over the U.S. already. I'm seeing people from Switzerland and Malaysia and Mexico and Egypt and Italy. Well, guys, wherever you're joining us from today, we just want to say welcome, and we want to thank you for spending some time with us. We know how busy you guys are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on a webinar about productivity, and I promise you, Michael has some really practical solutions today that are going to help you be more productive and accomplish what matters most to you. Now, for those of you who've just joined us, you're definitely in the right place for the webinar with Michael Hyatt. We'll be getting started in just a moment. But first, we'd like to get to know you a little bit. So go ahead and find the chat window that's on the control panel and let us know what is the single biggest thing that derails your productivity. When you sit down at the computer to work on a big project, what is the biggest obstacle that's getting in your way? Because we want to help you tackle those obstacles during today's webinar. I'm seeing Ryan talking about focus, Cindy talking about emails. Man, they're coming in so fast, I can't even see who they're from anymore. I'm seeing people talk about too many distractions. Lots of people talking about too much to do and an urge to procrastinate. And lots of people talking about interruptions, folks walking into their office or calling on the phone. Well, guys, whatever one of these obstacles it is that has been derailing your productivity and has been hindering you from finally accomplishing those projects that matter most, I know that Michael has some really practical strategies today that are going to help you overcome those obstacles, achieve what matters most, and finally make it home to your family. It is going to be a fantastic time. Now, I'm going to be bringing on Michael to officially start the webinar in just a moment, but first, I have a couple of special announcements for you guys. First up, if you haven't already downloaded the webinar workbook that Michael has prepared for this session, you're going to want to do that right now before we get started. You can find it at freetofocus.com/workbook. You're going to want to print it out. It's going to help you take notes on all of the incredible insights that Michael shares during today's session, and most importantly, it's going to serve as a personalized action plan for you after the webinar is over so that you can implement everything that you've learned. So again, you don't want to miss out on the workbook. Head on over to freetofocus.com/workbook to grab yours now and get all set up for the webinar. I also want to let you guys know that we're going to be having a contest for those who engage with us on Facebook today. All you've got to do if you want to enter is visit Michael's Facebook page at facebook.com/Michael Hyatt. You're going to want to look for this post shown here on your screen and comment with your answer to this question. What would it make possible if you were to triple your productivity? I mean, really, if you could be 3 times more productive next week, what would that make possible in your business? What would it make possible in your personal life? We would absolutely love to know. All you've got to do to enter the contest is comment on that post. You can also share it, and you'll be entered for 2 chances to win. At the end of today's session, we're going to be picking 2 lucky people who will win free independent study access to Michael's goal-setting course, 5 days to your best year ever. It is a $197 value. And all you have to do to enter to win is engage with us on Facebook and then stick with us until the end of the webinar. Now, guys, I know that you are just as excited to dive into the webinar as I am. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my webcam and officially introduce all of us to our webinar instructor. Hi guys, Mandy Ravicchio here, Senior Content Creator with Michael Hyatt and Company. Welcome to this special webinar, The 7 Deadly Sins of Productivity, the hidden habits undermining your performance and how to change them. I'd like to start by asking you a question. Does this sound like you? You're a high achiever who wants to win at work and succeed at life, but you face constant distractions and interruptions that eat into your best work time. It all adds up to long days, a fast pace, and still not enough time to tackle those high leverage projects that would really impact your business. Worse still, work is starting to encroach on your personal life. There just aren't enough hours in the day, and too few of them go to what matters most, like your family or your health. You're struggling to balance it all and you wish you could find a way to get more done in less time. Well, if that sounds like you have definitely come to the right place. I want to introduce you to our instructor for this webinar, Michael Hyatt. In case you don't know him, Michael is the author of Platform, Get Noticed in a Noisy World. It is a New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today bestseller, along with his latest USA Today and Wall Street Journal bestseller, Living Forward, a proven plan to stop drifting and get the life you want. Michael has spent most of his career in the world of book publishing, most recently as the chairman and CEO of Thomas Nelson Publishers, the seventh largest publisher in the U.S. When the company was sold to HarperCollins in 2011, Michael left his position to venture out on his own as a full-time author, speaker, and leadership coach. His blog, michaelhyatt.com, gets almost 1 million page views every month. And his podcast, This Is Your Life, is consistently in the iTunes Top 50 for business. In 2017, a banner moment came for Michael when his business was named to the Inc. 5000 list, which ranks America's fastest growing private companies. The ranking recognizes the 330% growth that Michael Hyatt and Company has experienced over the past 3 years. In addition, Fast Company referred to Michael as a productivity expert, and Entrepreneur Magazine has recognized him as a productivity genius. Michael has been married to his wife, Gail, for 39 years. Together, they have 5 grown daughters. He also has 3 sons-in-law and 8 grandchildren. Now, you've set aside the time to attend this webinar, so I want to encourage you to maximize this time by turning off the ringer on your phone, shutting down your email program, and eliminating as many distractions as possible so you can really focus. I promise you, Michael's content will be well worth it. And if you haven't yet downloaded the special webinar workbook that Michael has prepared, you'll want to do that now before we get started. It's going to help you catch every valuable point Michael covers during this webinar, and you can find your copy at freetofocus.com/workbook. If you'd like to tweet about the webinar, please feel free to do so. Michael's Twitter handle is @MichaelHyatt, and mine is @Mandy_Riv. Please just use the hashtag productivitysins so we can interact with you there. We're also having a contest for those who engage with us on Facebook today. All you have to do to enter the contest is visit facebook.com/MichaelHyatt, look for this post, and comment with your answer to the following question. What would it make possible if you were to triple your productivity? Just comment with your answer and share the post on your own page for 2 chances to win. We are going to pick 2 lucky people to win free independent study access to Michael's goal-setting course, 5 Days to Your Best Year Ever. It's a $197 value, and all you have to do to enter to win is engage with us on Facebook and stick around until the end of today's webinar. Now, finally, before I bring on Michael, I wanted to let you know that we'll be having a Q&A session at the end of the webinar where Michael will answer your questions live. So if you have questions at any point during the webinar, please enter them in the Q&A box you see on your control panel. We're going to go ahead and disable the public chat window now so we can all focus on Michael's presentation. But the Q&A area will be active throughout the entire session, so submit your questions there as you think of them. Again, at the end of the webinar, Michael will answer as many of those questions as possible, so make sure you stick around. Now, without any further ado, let me bring on our webinar instructor, Mr. Michael Hyatt.
Hey, Mandy. How are you doing?
Michael. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited about this webinar.
I'm thrilled to hear it. I'm excited about it too. You know, we were asking before the webinar started what the biggest hurdles people were facing when it came to productivity were. And we heard so many people talking about distractions and interruptions and endless emails. And I know that you're really passionate about helping people get over those hurdles, aren't you?
I am, absolutely. You know, I was monitoring the chat too, and I think that everything I saw, and they were going by in a blur, we address here in this webinar. So this is going to be super practical. It's going to be news you can use. It's going to be stuff you can put to use immediately. And I think it's going to offer real help and hope to people that feel overwhelmed and bogged down and just feel like they can't make progress on the important things that are on their to-do list.
I agree. I think it is absolutely going to do that. And I can't wait to dive in. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my webcam so that you can get started, but I will see you for the Q&A at the end.
Awesome. See you in a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Turn off my video here. So again, welcome guys. I am thrilled that you're here. Again, today's webinar is the 7 deadly sins of productivity. I've got some incredible content that I want to share with you today, and I want to start with some pretty incredible bonuses. First of all, as my gift to you, just for showing up today, just for participating, I want to give you my brand new ebook, The Distraction Slayer. This includes 5 master tactics to help you eliminate the interruptions that constantly derail your focus. And I saw hundreds of messages in the chat before we began where people were saying distractions were the number one thing that was derailing them. So this little ebook will help. And you can download that for free at freetofocus.com/distraction. Now, don't let that distract you and go download it now. This will be up for a few days. Just write down the URL. Then, as a thank you for staying on this webinar until the end, I'm going to also give you my More Sleep, More Success Power Pack. It includes an ebook, a video interview, and a 13-step action plan. And it's all yours just for joining us today. And I'll tell you more about it in just a moment. So back to today's topic. Here's what you're going to discover in this webinar. First of all, the performance drain that costs most U.S. workers, and my guess, most non-U.S. workers, 78% of their workday, and how you can conquer it. Why your massive to-do list is holding you back, and a simple hack to cut it in half. And the simple process I use to tame my email inbox in about 30 minutes every day. And why you always seem to get more ideas in the shower, and how to unleash that innovation and creativity more often. Then 5 simple, powerful tactics to eliminate distractions at work with the latest multitasking research that proves you must. And then your most powerful productivity weapon, and hint, it's not a shiny new tech tool. In fact, it's downright ancient and you already have unlimited access to it. And then why 77% of leaders say their productivity systems have failed them and what you can do differently. Plus, I'll reveal my secrets for building a multi-million-dollar thriving business without, get this, working nights or weekends. Yes, it's possible. Again, if you're just joining us, our topic for today is the 7 deadly sins of productivity. But I think before we really get started here, I want to establish that there's something fundamentally wrong in our approach to productivity. I mean, you sense that, right? So let's begin with a moment of honesty. When is the last time you accomplished every task on your list with time to spare? I mean, think about it. When is the last time you left work on time, satisfied that you've gotten all the most important things done? Well, if you're like most leaders, it's probably been a very long time. Perhaps you've never felt that way. Instead, you probably find yourself battling constant distractions and interruptions, never able to focus on those critical projects that really drive results. Sound familiar? Well, I bet it does. I've never met a single leader who hasn't experienced this struggle. So let's take a moment to consider why this is the case. Why do most leaders feel they never have enough time to get it all done? I mean, is it because we're all lazy and unfocused? Obviously not. No, the opposite is true. We're high achievers. We hustle hard. We manage well. We know what matters. Yet there still always seems to be more tasks than time. And I'd like to suggest that the reason for this is that our approach to productivity is simply broken. The modern definition of productivity is something like this: a hamster on a wheel. There's this constant pressure to do more, respond faster, and be more available. So you're constantly racing to keep up. Well, as a leader, I'll bet you can relate. The biggest problem is that the hamster wheel can't run without you, right? And unfortunately, that means the more successful you become, the more responsibility you're given, the more indispensable you become, the faster you have to go to keep up. And it's exhausting. and the pace is simply unsustainable. And I mean, it's wearing us out. Something has got to change. Look, I've been there. As the father of 5 daughters, as Mandy mentioned, and I've been the CEO of a major corporation, now a successful entrepreneur leading a fast-growing company. I know what it's like. I face the same constant demands as you've faced, and I've carried the same seemingly impossible desire to both win at work and somehow succeed at life. So I spent the last 30 plus years voraciously studying productivity. I've tried, I think, just about every system, every app, and every tool on the market in an effort to find a way to get more done in less time. And I've come to one critical conclusion. It's not your fault. The modern productivity paradigm is the hamster wheel's best friend, and it spawns some all too common productivity sins that keep us always running without ever stopping to consider our destination. So today, we're going to stop the madness, and I'm going to show you how to conquer the 7 deadly productivity sins that are hindering your performance. So are you ready to tackle the most troubling productivity vices? Awesome. Let's dive in. We'll start with deadly sin number 1, manage time. What? Time? I thought time management was the secret to productivity. Well, honestly, it can be a good thing, but if we approach it in the wrong way, it can become one of the most crippling productivity sins. Unhealthy time management hides behind such phrases as these. I have to finish those reports, so I'll just work through lunch. Or I actually enjoy putting in a few hours in the evening or on the weekends. I get a lot done because nobody's distracting me. Sound familiar? Well, if so, you're guilty of sin number 1, and you're not alone. We all want more time, and that's why this sin is so prevalent. Time management seems like the key to magically getting more hours in the day. In fact, most of us assume that time management is the foundation of productivity. How often do we use the phrase, if I only had the time? We assume that if we massage time around enough, that somehow we'll find more of it. But the result of trying to manage time until we find more of it is that we work around the clock. We work evenings and weekends. We're on our phone at the dinner table, and we're answering emails while we're lying in bed at night. And it leads to longer and longer days and scarcely any time to rest. When we're managing time, we tend to cut hours from 3 key areas where we really shouldn't. Time to eat, time to sleep, time to relax. Well, let's start with the first area, time to eat. You know, so often we skip meals to try to get more done, right? Assuming that skipping breakfast maybe or working through lunch will give us the time that we need. But here's the truth. Nothing runs well on empty. I mean, think about it. If your gas tank was on E, empty, you wouldn't consider it a waste of time to stop and refill, right? I mean, in fact, refueling is the fastest way to get to where you want to go. But we constantly assume that our bodies can run on empty. For years, I was among those who skipped breakfast, and I really shortchanged myself. The truth is, calories are fuel. According to Women's Health magazine, skipping just 1 meal causes your blood sugar levels to dive, or if it's breakfast, to never get out of the starting gate at all. That drop in blood sugar has major ramifications for your mental, emotional, and physical health. It also has ramifications for your focus and your productivity. We also try to get by on less sleep in our quest to find more time. In fact, when I was at Thomas Nelson Publishers, we published a book by an author who advocating getting by on 4 hours of sleep a night. She said, just think of how you can invest that extra time in accomplishing more that's on your to-do list. The problem is that trying to get by on less sleep destroys our focus. I mean, think about it this way. Have you ever found yourself rereading and rereading the same sentence or the same paragraph in a book or a report, but still somehow missing the meaning? Or working on a project but just staring blankly at the computer screen? The culprit? Probably a lack of sleep. According to one study published in the New York Times Magazine, get this, guys, going on 6 hours of sleep a night can reduce our functioning to the level of someone legally drunk. I mean, no wonder we can't focus. No wonder we're not more productive. The fact is, most adults need 7 to 10 hours of sleep per night. But according to a recent Gallup poll, most don't get anywhere near that. No wonder so many of us struggle with focus. And you need to give yourself permission to sleep as much as you find necessary to be at your absolute best. There's nothing heroic about trying to get by on less sleep. And to be honest, it's kind of dumb. Not only will your productivity suffer, but so will everything else in your life, including your health. And to help you do just that, I want to remind you about the special bonus that I mentioned earlier that I'll have for you at the end of the webinar. It's my More Sleep, More Success Power Pack. And it includes an incredibly insightful video interview that I did with sleep expert Sean Stevenson, along with an ebook and a 13-step action plan so you can leverage the transformative power of sleep starting tonight. And it's all yours just for staying with us until the end of the webinar. You definitely don't want to miss this, so stick around. We also carve away at our time to relax. I mean, I don't know about you, but most people I know work in the evenings. They work on the weekends. They check email from their phones before they even get out of bed in the morning. In fact, according to a study by the Center for Creative Leadership, professionals with smartphones end up engaging with their work more than 70 hours a week. And here's the problem. There's a law of diminishing returns with our energy level. The more hours we work, the less energy we have. And that's why focus, attention, and energy are at a premium in the morning, and they wane as the day goes on. When we push through that exhaustion, it does a number on our performance. Take, for example, golf and almost any other sport for that matter. The enemy of peak performance is what? Tension. Relaxation is essential for peak performance. Well, the same is true in business. Do you ever wonder why you get the best ideas in the shower? Well, it's because relaxation drives creativity. Sometimes that's where you come up with new product ideas. You solve these vexing problems that have dogged you for months, maybe years. And the same is true when we're on a walk or laughing through dinner with friends. Creativity and problem solving are at their peak when we're the most relaxed. It's the old metaphor of sharpening the saw. As Abraham Lincoln famously said, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Constantly grinding away at a problem is not helpful. If you'll just step away to rest, take a break, you'll return sharp and powerful, rejuvenated, able to focus and solve the problem or create whatever it is you're trying to create. The inherent flaw in the sin of time management is that we think by managing time, we can make more of it. But here's the truth, guys. Time is fixed. It doesn't flex. We all get 168 hours a week, no more, no less. I don't care what your position is in your company or society, 168 hours a week. But here's the good news. While time is fixed, energy can flex. That's why you can achieve more in 30 rested hours than 50 exhausted ones. You know, there's an often repeated phrase from the Bible that says, the truth shall set you free, right? You know that? And that's what I found to be true for these productivity sins. They're built on a productivity paradigm that's a lie. So the first step to conquering them is to confront what's false about them and embrace a new liberating truth, a truth that will really set you free. So here's your liberating truth to combat sin. Number 1, managing energy is far more effective than managing time. Managing energy is really the goal. That's why it's important to eat, to get the rest, to relax, all of that stuff if we're going to be really effective and really productive. And here's how you can put that into action this week. End work on time tonight, no matter what. You know, there's Parkinson's law that says that work expands to the time allotted for it. This is kind of Hyatt's corollary, which is work contracts to the time allotted for it. This is one of the things I love about hard boundaries and ending work on time. It makes us speed up our work and stay focused during our work hours so that we can go home and relax and have a life. That brings us to deadly sin number 2, embrace multitasking. Guys, this one is particularly lethal. You already know what it sounds like. Don't worry. I'm still listening to you. I'm just answering a quick email. Right. I've said it before, so have you. Or maybe I'm an expert juggler. I don't have time to do one thing at a time. In other words, I have to multitask. Well, if that sounds familiar, you're guilty of sin number 2. As a high achiever, I'm really drawn to this sin, probably for the same reason you are. I'm busy, and I'd really love to use the same time twice. You would too. And apparently, we're not alone. The sin of multitasking is everywhere. And here's the problem. Multitasking flat out doesn't work. And I mean, there are a few rare exceptions. For example, I love listening to a book or a podcast while I'm out for a run. But is that really multitasking? I mean, my body's kind of on autopilot. I'm not really thinking because I'm doing it from muscle memory and I'm listening. My focus is really on the podcast. But the multitasking that we do and that I'm talking about here that's in the office is broken. Instead of focusing for long periods on a single project, we're pulled away every few minutes, sometimes every few seconds to answer this message or check that social media account. And all this multitasking can sometimes trick us into thinking we're being efficient. But warning, it's a trap. The research says our brains don't actually multitask. They just switch between tasks. And we lose momentum and efficiency every time we switch. Get this. One study by the University of California at Irvine found this. It takes office workers an average of 25 minutes to resume a task after an interruption like an email or a phone call. Guys, that's almost half an hour. And that's why even though multitaskers are proven to work faster, get this, it's also proven that they produce less. At some point, we have to acknowledge there's a big difference between being busy and being productive, right? I want to say it again because it's so important. There's a big difference between being busy and being productive. You know that's true. That's one of the reasons you probably signed up for this webinar. So here's how to combat the sin of multitasking. Embrace the liberating truth that you'll actually accomplish more if you do one thing at a time rather than multitask. And here's how you can put it into action this week. Kill distractions. The next time you're working on a project and want to stay focused, close your email app. Now that may be surprising to some of you, but you can actually quit the app. Silence your phone. There is an off button. There's also a do not disturb function. Put a do not disturb sign on your door. People will be okay. They know you're not gone forever, but you'll be amazed how fast you can complete something without the constant drip temptation to multitask. Now that brings us to sin number 3. You can get more done if you track obsessively. Now, here's what I mean by this. And by the way, this one's particularly sneaky. You can find it in phrases like this. I put absolutely everything on my task list. And for us hyper efficient folks, sometimes I enter a task I've already done just so I can have the pleasure of checking it off. Anyone else here guilty of that one besides me? If so, you might be committing sin number 3. Now, why does this sin ensnare so many of us? I'll tell you why. Because it masquerades as organization. And who doesn't want to be organized? And there are a ton of outlets that promote this charade. It's true. Constantly listing and striking through tasks certainly makes us feel productive. But here's another uncomfortable bite of reality. Just like there's a big difference between being busy and being productive, there's a big difference between feeling productive and actually being productive. How can you tell which camp you fall on? Simply ask yourself this question. Are the things you checked off today the most important things you needed to do? Are they? Note that I said important, not urgent, but important. The bottom line is that if the important things are left undone, your productivity system, no matter how fancy, no matter how elegant it is failing you. If the important things are left undone, your productivity system is failing you. And the worst of it is that most of the people who fall prey to this sin don't even get to feel productive, let alone be productive. They're so busy trying to keep track of their tasks with an overly complex productivity system that they never actually have time to get anything done. And I hate seeing that, especially when it happens to well-intentioned leaders. That's why I created my own productivity system as a simple answer among all that complexity. And I'll tell you more about that in a bit, but for the time being, suffice it to say that 77% of the leaders I surveyed when creating that course said that other productivity solutions had failed them. In other words, they spent more time trying to manage the system than actually getting things done. Sound familiar? Well, that's sin number 3 for you. Now, I don't have time to get into a comprehensive solution right now, but I want to give you 2 quick fixes that should help. First, take a machete to your task list. Seriously, 80% of it should never have been there to begin with. You've got to ask yourself some hard questions when you're asked to do something or when you think about something you want to do. First of all, could you eliminate it? Does it need to be done at all? If it does need to be done, could it be done by a machine? Could you automate it? And then finally, if it has to be done by a human, is there another human that's better equipped, more qualified to deal with this than you are? But just get rid of it. Take a machete to your task list. Second, practice what David Allen, the author of Getting Things Done, calls the 2-minute rule. Now, what it says is this: if a task can be done in 2 minutes or less, like let's say you're going through your email and somebody asks you to do something, if it can be done in 2 minutes or less, don't bother writing it down. Just do it immediately. It'll take way less time than writing it down and trying to keep it organized. And it'll keep you, and this is important, from feeling overwhelmed because you've got a long task list that you know you're not going to get to. Hopefully these 2 tips will save you from sin number 3. So to recap, sin number 3 happens when you track obsessively, but here's the liberating truth. 80% of what's on your task list doesn't belong there. We need to filter. We need to think through these tasks before they ever show up on a list. And here's how you can put this into action this week. Practice the 2-minute rule beginning today. So that's sin number 3. Deadly sin number 4. You can get more done if you ignore disorder and just work. Don't think this one is common? Well, have you ever heard or said one of these before? It may be cluttered, but I know where everything is. Or what about this? Sorry, my desk is such a mess. I just haven't had time to stop and clean it up. Well, if you've been ignoring the disorder around you, you've slipped into deadly sin number 4. And this one is everywhere. And the reason why is glaringly obvious. Stopping to clean up the clutter feels like a waste of time you don't have. Your desk is messy because you're busy, right? Which must mean you're too busy to stop and clean it. Wrong. It's been proven that a disorganized workspace increases both stress and inefficiency. And why is that important? Because stress or tension is the enemy of peak performance. And that's not only true, by the way, of a messy desk or a packed closet, but also of an overflowing email inbox or a disorganized hard drive. Is it any wonder that disorder limits our productivity when it's impossible to find anything, or it increases our anxiety that something important is slipping through the cracks? And again, that's the enemy of peak performance. It's a visual reminder, constant visual reminder that we're not on top of everything we should be. So it really does a number on our confidence. Most people know they should get these things organized, but their biggest objection is they don't have the time. I get it. But every strong leader understands the law of ROI, or return on investment. For example, if I ask you to invest $100 today in an opportunity that I can guarantee would have a $1,000 return, like 10 to 1, you jump on it in a heartbeat, right? Of course, you'd be foolish not to. Well, you're equally foolish to ignore disorder in your life and work. There's a major payoff for the time you invest straightening up, including increased efficiency. Knowing where everything is will make you more efficient. Less stress. I keep harping on this, but it's important. Clearing out the clutter will make you more relaxed. And when you're more relaxed, you're going to be more creative, more focused. You're going to get more done. More headspace. Who doesn't need that? The ability to be able to think about our work and not be distracted by our environment is critically important. And then more productivity. The bottom line of all these benefits is that you're going to be more productive. So make the investment of time, energy, and resources to declutter your space. You'll see a huge return on that investment. And you can start by embracing this liberating truth. You'll actually save time by stopping to get organized. Sometimes the way to speed things up are to slow them down and take a little time to get organized. And here's how you can put that into action. Stop to impose order on one unruly space or system this week. Maybe it's your desktop. Maybe it's your workspace. Maybe it's a digital space like your hard drive. But stop to impose order on one unruly space or system this week. That brings us to deadly sin number 5. You can get more done if you expand access to you. Now stay with me because this one's important. This is all about who can get to you and how often they can get to you. And here's how it sounds. I don't like barriers. I want everyone to feel comfortable connecting with me directly. Or maybe this, social media isn't a problem for me. I mean, I can pop in for a few minutes and then get right back to what I was doing. No one ever was able to do that, right? If you said something like that, it's because you're practicing deadly sin number 5. And there's a very good reason why this sin is so common, because it's partly true. I mean, there's a grain of genuine truth in the idea that expanding access to you is beneficial for your team, for your customers, even for your followers. Countless studies prove that leaders who remain accessible to those on their team, regardless of where they fall in the totem pole, are more successful. And the same can be said of leaders who let themselves be accessible to industry colleagues via social media and networking sites. So let me be clear. I have no objection to open door policies. In fact, I practice it. I try to encourage it in my own company. What I do have a problem with, listen to me, are always open door policies. That's what turns this into something lethal. When you're constantly accessible, then you're constantly distracted. I mean, there's no other way around it. Whether it's social media notifications, email notifications, a ringing phone, a knock at your door, or a colleague who drops by to chat, these are all examples of accessibility, right? But here's the problem. They're also examples of distractions. I mean, it's honorable that you and I want to remain accessible, but we've got to guard our focus. And this means we have to cut the distractions. So I want to give you a few strategies to eliminate distractions. These are easy to come up with, but a little tougher to implement, but they're important that we do so. First, put a do not disturb sign on your door or close it. When you're doing deep, focused work, the enemy is an interruption that takes you out of that focus time. So let people know you're not going to be gone for days. You're not going to be probably gone for hours, but you need time to solve the important problems that are vexing your business or to create new products that'll drive revenue, whatever it is. Turn off your cell phone for the same reason. Unplug your office phone if you still have one of those. Shut down email. Kill your social media apps. You basically want to plan, to be intentional, to eliminate the distractions before they happen. And this takes a little planning and a little courage. This constant accessibility isn't the only danger, though, that's lurking within sin number 5. There's another one. It's the problem of wide accessibility. Now, this sin is appealing because you think that by expanding access to everyone, it makes you a more open, receptive, approachable leader. And social media has kind of tricked us into thinking this is a good thing because there's a grain of truth in it. But here's the problem. You don't have unlimited time or focus. In other words, it doesn't scale. Your time and attention are finite. There are only so many pieces of the pie, so to speak. And if you're dishing them up for everyone who wants them, you're forced to serve up very tiny pieces. And if you're not careful, you wind up left with only crumbs for the people who deserve them the most. People like your family, your direct reports, even yourself. How many times have you been so busy solving other people's problems that you failed to accomplish a big project of your own? How many times have email and other notifications encroached on a dinner out with your spouse? Or long work hours left you too exhausted to get up and work out? Or you popped onto Facebook just to answer a quick question from a colleague, and then you got sucked into your Facebook news feed and you lost an hour that was meant to go to an important project. Don't ask me how I know about this. Here's the problem. Giving everyone access to you actually reduces accessibility for the people who need you the most. But that's exactly what you'll do if you stay captive to deadly sin number 5. So practice this truth instead. It's good to expand access, but not to the detriment of the people who matter most. Underline that word not, but not to the detriment of the people who matter most. And here's how you can put it into action. Make a list of the people who need you most. And don't forget to include yourself on the list, but put it in priority order. Post that list somewhere in your office as a reminder. Make sure your assistant has this list. If you have an assistant, they should know your priorities and who you want to give access to on a priority basis. This can go a long way towards putting your access at a manageable level where it doesn't distract from getting your most important work done. That brings us to deadly sin number 6. You can get more done if you respond constantly. Now, most of us already know we're guilty of this one. I mean, we say things like, hey, my phone's always on, call me anytime. Or perhaps for you, it's, I'm on email all day long, just send me a message. And if you're hyper responsive, you're probably losing time because of sin number 6. And this sin is pervasive. We all know it's wrong, or at least there's a problem with it, and yet we all do it. And here's why. Because we have warped standards of responsiveness. Now, there was a time when we did business mostly by mail. It took you a few days to write a letter, then you sent it out, took 5 days to get to the recipient. They replied, took another 5 days to get it back to you. I mean, that was kind of a nice pace, right? Then telephones were introduced and expected response times were dramatically shortened. And then fax machines, remember those? They continued to speed up our exchanges. And then the advent of emails ushered in an era of instantaneous communication. And then smartphones, good grief, those have just made everything crazy and slammed us into a state of constant frenzy. Get this, collectively, we send over 200 million emails per minute. And for busy leaders like you and me, that means inboxes with sometimes thousands of messages and hundreds more coming in every day, which is why responding to every single message is one of the greatest drains on your productivity. Now, let me be clear. I believe in responsiveness. In fact, it's a core value at my company and for my team. But just because someone contacts you, listen to me, it doesn't constitute an obligation on your part to reply. I want to say that again because this is liberating and it's very important to grasp. Just because someone contacts you doesn't constitute an obligation on your part to reciprocate. This is especially true for those input channels where most of the communication is unsolicited. For example, I don't answer private messages on LinkedIn. Why? Because they're almost always solicitations. And I state right in my profile that I won't answer communications there. So I eliminate a complete inbox that would otherwise just add more meaningless work to my day. It's really about choosing which responses to prioritize. For example, I answer every single email or Slack message from my team, my friends and family, or my top customers and colleagues. Again, the pie's only so big. So you got to choose the places where you're going to interact and the places where you're not. So aside from the pressure to answer every message, we also have to resist the pressure to answer immediately. Now, I mean, it's convenient that our phones make instantaneous communication possible, but it's also a highway. In fact, a superhighway for constant, never-ending interruptions. Most leaders, in my experience, have such a high standard of responsiveness that they jump out of focus to reply immediately to even the most minor requests. And as we saw earlier from that study, that it takes 25 or 30 minutes for them to get back to what they were doing. Ultimately, what best serves your business is for you to devote uninterrupted attention to those projects that'll catapult you forward. And this necessitates periods, write this down, of intentional unresponsiveness. Intentional unresponsiveness. For me, I'm only on Slack, which is the app that our team uses instead of email 4 times a day. Not constantly on it. I don't feel any compulsion to answer immediately, but I'm on it in the morning, before lunch, after lunch, and at the end of the business day. And in between those times, guess what I'm doing? I'm focused on important projects or important meetings. And my assistant will text me if anything truly urgent comes up. And you know how often that happens? Almost never. But otherwise, I'm unresponsive to all those communications so I can be fully responsive to our highest priorities. And just in case you're still considering whether responding constantly really has an adverse effect on your productivity, here's one stat you need to pay very close attention to. This was a study commissioned by Adobe Systems, the people that make Photoshop. They found that U.S. workers spend 6.3 hours per day checking email. 6.3 hours. I mean, let that sink in. That's over 78% of an 8-hour workday. And one critical thing to note is that answering email is very rarely a revenue-producing activity, right? Especially not for people that are leaders and business owners. Sure, it'll keep you busy, but it won't necessarily add anything to your bottom line. And that's why productivity, what you actually produce, not just how many hours you work, is of such profound importance to your business as a whole. If you're not careful, activities like email, which produce no revenue, can easily consume the majority of your day and inhibit the performance of your business. But by minimizing email response times, you can maximize your time spent on projects that create revenue. And to help you do just that, I've created a special resource called the Email Domination System, Top Hacks for Taming Your Inbox with Templates, Batching, and Time-Saving Shortcuts. This is my complete system for cutting your email load by 85%. I've actually measured it, and that's not just a made-up statistic. At the end of the webinar, I'm going to give you some information about how you can obtain this incredible resource for free. So stick with us to learn more how you can get a copy. Now that brings us to the end of sin number 6 and to this liberating truth. You'll make your greatest contribution if you respond periodically, not constantly. Periodically, not constantly. And here's your next action item. Block out 4 hours of unresponsive time on your calendar this week. Now, what do I mean by that? Literally set an appointment with yourself. Honor it as though you would honor an appointment with somebody else. If somebody asks you for this time and you can possibly say no, all you need to say is, I'm sorry, I have another commitment then. Let's find another time to meet. So honor it just like you would any other important appointment, because it is important, right? Okay, now on to our deadly final sin, sin number 7, assuming you can get more done if you switch technologies. Gadget addicts, I'm looking at you. I'm also looking in the mirror. Here's what it sounds like. I just installed a new task manager. Now I'll finally be more organized. Ever said that to yourself? Or perhaps I'm considering switching to a new device. It might help me work faster. If you're constantly trying new technology, you're one of the millions who are guilty of our final productivity sin. And why is this one so tempting? 3 words: shiny objects syndrome. If you put that together, it's the acronym SOS. In other words, help. And it certainly does captivate us. I mean, it seems like everyone is looking for the latest and greatest technological edge that will somehow magically solve all their productivity problems. And I want to make one thing clear, full disclosure here. I have no problem with switching to a new technology. In fact, I love new technology. I love my gadgets. My team has viewing parties for Apple's annual events the way most teams watch the Super Bowl. And I'm usually the first to grab the latest iPhone or to try out a new productivity app. But I want to make a clear distinction. Technology is a great servant, but it's a terrible, terrible master. The fact is, it takes time to switch from one device to another or from one app to another. Now, if you've done your homework and you firmly believe that a new option will serve your needs better, it could be well worth the investment. But if you're constantly changing systems or tools by default, you could actually be limiting your productivity. The underlying mentality is that a new technology will solve all your productivity problems. But here's the truth. The grass isn't necessarily greener on the other side, is it? It reminds me of something said by Saint Basil when he left society behind to join a monastery. He wrote, "For I have indeed left my life in this city, but I have not yet been able to leave myself behind." And then he went on to liken himself to a man who goes out to sea for the first time on a large ship, and he gets seasick. And so he blames the size of the ship for his sickness, and he tries to escape to a lifeboat. But guess what? He brings his seasickness with him. Now he just happens to be seasick in the lifeboat instead of the great big ship. Well, the same is true for you and me. If our approach to productivity is broken, it's not going to be fixed by switching technologies. You'll just be unproductive with a shiny new device. If you believe a new technology is the answer to all your problems, you're committing sin number 7. So try on this liberating truth instead. New technology doesn't guarantee improved productivity. Let me say it again because it's so contrary to how I think we think. New technology doesn't guarantee improved productivity. That would probably be a good mantra every time you enter the Apple Store or every time you shop for a gadget online. New technology doesn't guarantee improved productivity. And here's how you can put it into action this week. Evaluate your approach to productivity rather than the device that supports it, right? All right. So there you have it. The 7 deadly sins of productivity, the hidden habits undermining your performance and how to change them. Let's recap. Sin number 1, manage time. Sin number 2, embrace multitasking. Sin number 3, track obsessively. Sin number 4, ignore disorder. Sin number 5, expand access. Sin number 6, respond constantly. Sin number 7, switch technologies. Now, I ended the last sin by encouraging you to reevaluate your approach to productivity instead of just the tools that support it. Well, that's a long overdue step for most of us because let's be honest, if you're going to implement the advice I've given you in this webinar, if you're going to get a full night's sleep, for example, stop to eat healthy meals, focus on only one thing instead of multitasking, and still leave work on time, something major has got to change. The current productivity paradigm doesn't support these kinds of activities. Otherwise, you already be doing it, right? Well, here's my guess. You don't want to move faster just for the sake of moving faster or work longer hours just to squeeze more low-value activity into your day. No, you want to do work that makes an impact, right? I mean, you want to focus on those high-leverage activities that'll drive exponential growth in your income, your revenue, your profit, your sales, and in your organization's results. And at the same time, you want to enjoy quality time with your spouse and family, fostering the relationships that matter the most. And you probably also want to give your health the attention it deserves, spending your days feeling revitalized and energetic, not tired and depleted. And you may want to spend time pursuing those passions and interests that give life meaning. In short, you want productivity that leads to freedom. And I'm here to tell you it's possible. You can jump off the hamster wheel once and for all and find the freedom you've been looking for, but only if you get a new approach to productivity. And that's exactly why I designed Free to Focus, a complete productivity system to help you achieve more of what really matters by doing less of what doesn't. And deep down, I think we all know our days are glutted with low-value activity at the expense of what really matters in our work and life. If that's the case for you, the way I see it, you have three choices. You could just quit. Throw up your hands, walk off the field, give up, and assume your level of productivity will never change, that something's wrong with your DNA, you're just not a productivity person. Or option number two, you could continue to go it alone, hoping to get better results by working harder and faster. The only thing I would ask with regard to that option is, how is that working out for you so far? Option number three, you can let me help you get better results using a proven productivity system. You're not alone, and you don't have to figure it out on your own. And that's where Free to Focus comes in. But before I tell you more about the course, I want to remind you about two exciting things we have waiting for you at the end of this webinar, just a few minutes from now. First, our live Q&A, where I'll be answering your specific questions about how to be more productive and less overwhelmed. Ask your questions now in the Q&A area, and we'll tackle those in just a few minutes when I bring Mandy back on. Second, there's the special bonus I have for all of you who stay with us until the end of today's webinar, the More Sleep, More Success Power Pack that will help you triple your productivity through the power of sleep. And it's yours free just for staying with us a few more minutes until the end of the webinar. So what is Free to Focus? Well, it's a comprehensive 21-day productivity solution. It's designed to help busy executives, entrepreneurs, leaders, and managers, people like you, achieve what matters most. And it's guaranteed to help you stay focused, beat back the distractions, and make progress on your most important projects. It'll even enable you to up your income. Why? Because you'll finally be free to focus on those activities that drive results in your business. Now, I introduced it for the first time last year to thousands of customers who have already experienced astounding results. People like Wendy Hamilton, who said, quote, "I came into Free to Focus a skeptic and feeling hopeless, on the edge of burnout is an understatement. I ended the course a revived dreamer with a sustainable plan for long-term success," end quote. Or Darcy Sabatino, who told us, quote, "In all of the productivity-related books, tools, and resources that I've encountered, none of them has successfully impacted my daily life in the way that Free to Focus has. This course is a complete game changer and is going to have a ripple effect for the foreseeable future," end quote. Or Ray Edwards. He said, "This program has made it simple and easy for me to say no to the things that once distracted me from my true priorities. Free to Focus is directly responsible for helping reduce my workload by 10 hours per week. In the month after I completed the course, my company revenue increased 40% over the previous month." And he went on to say, "This is the best productivity course I've ever taken, and there's nobody better at this than Michael Hyatt." Thousands of people have gotten transformative results by applying Free to Focus to their lives, and I'll bet you will too. So here's a quick inside look at what you can expect. Free to Focus is a video course. It's divided into 3 modules with 3 lessons each, 9 lessons in total. And for this edition, we've upgraded the content with several brand new tools to help you stage your own personal productivity revolution, along with all the latest, greatest research. In Module 1, I reveal why the first thing we need to do, perhaps counterintuitively, is to stop. This is a radical departure from everything you've probably ever been told about productivity, because we want to go, 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 right? But we've got to stop. We have to get clear on what we're after, what is and isn't working, and get a vision for what's possible and what we want before we turn our attention to greater efficiency. Otherwise, we're just going to propel ourselves faster to the wrong destination. The stop module is made up of 3 lessons. Lesson number 1, formulate. Here, I'll help you establish your own personal, customized productivity vision. Productivity is a means to an end, and this is where so many productivity programs fall short. They act as if productivity is an end in itself. It's not. I want to help you get a clear vision of why productivity matters for you. Then lesson 2, evaluate. I'll show you how to identify what activities you should and shouldn't be doing. In this lesson, you'll also discover the hidden barrier to greater productivity in the one places that most courses completely ignore: your mindset. How you think determines how you behave. Lesson number 3, rejuvenate. I'll discuss the relationship between time on the job and your energy level. Time is a limited resource, as I pointed out in the webinar, but our physical and mental energy can expand. And in this lesson, I share my 5-ingredient recipe to recharge your batteries and give you more energy than you ever thought possible. So that's Module 1. In Module 2, Cut, I reveal how to eliminate 80% of what's on your to-do list and explain why those items should never have made it there to begin with. And when you're done, you'll be free to finish your most important tasks and projects and leave literally everything else behind. This will give you the dramatic freedom to spend more time with your family and get to those goals you've been putting off. Now, the Cut module also includes 3 lessons. Lesson 4, eliminate. Think of this lesson as the cure for an overloaded calendar and task list. It explains how to rid your day of time wasters and energy drains, and get this, negotiate your way out of meetings and other commitments ethically, those that sabotage your productivity. Then lesson 5, automate. I'll show you how to lop hours of repetitive tasks off your week by putting repeated tasks, processes, and habits on autopilot. And I'll also show you how to increase your bandwidth and your efficiency by utilizing 2 simple workday rituals. And let me tell you, the strategies in this lesson work even if you're not very tech savvy. Finally, in lesson 6, delegate. I'll help you reclaim your time with my foolproof delegation system. Even, see if this is you, even if you think no one could ever do it as well as you, or that it takes more time to explain it than just do it yourself, my delegation system will finally enable you to use delegation to multiply your efficiency and your effectiveness. And by the way, this works even if you don't yet have a team. That's Module 2. So in Module 1, Stop, you built a solid foundation for future productivity. In Module 2, Cut, you cleared your desk of time drains and distractions. That means you're ready for Module 3, Act. Now that you're doing less, you're finally free to achieve more of what truly matters. Now, the Act module also has 3 lessons. Lesson 1, Consolidate. I'll reveal how to design your week so that you can spend more time than ever on the projects that propel your success, and the review process that keeps you on track week after week, month after month. Lesson 8, Procrastinate. I'll explain a counterintuitive but super effective method, not only for staging your tasks and your projects, but also ensuring that nothing falls through the cracks. And then finally, Lesson 9, Activate. I'll share with you a system to narrow your focus, permanently eliminate the daily feeling of overwhelm, and ensure that you walk out of the office confident that you accomplished what mattered most day after day, week after week. And to make sure you get through the content in a systematic way with an already too busy schedule, right? We've created your 21-day productivity makeover. This step-by-step, day-by-day implementation plan will take the free to focus lessons off the screen and immediately put them into work in your life. It'll enable you to get through the entire course, get this, in just 30 minutes a day for 21 days. 30 minutes a day for 21 days. You'll not only watch the lessons, you'll take immediate action on them. You'll transform your calendar, radically reduce your task list, and empty your inbox. And the plan will guide you every step of the way. Just imagine where you could be just 3 weeks from now. So how's the content delivered? Well, the Free to Focus online portal contains separate videos for each lesson. They're broken up into bite-sized segments and audio downloads so that you can listen in your car, the gym, the grocery store, anywhere, and you can watch them on any device you have because it's compatible with every device. It also includes PDF transcripts and workbooks so you can highlight important points and better retain everything you learn. Plus, we've also packed the course with proprietary tools, a bunch of them new for this new edition to help you implement the system immediately. The great news is that all of it is delivered digitally. So there's no shipping costs. There's no waiting. You can access it immediately from anywhere just as soon as you register. So who's Free to Focus for? Well, CEOs, executives, entrepreneurs, managers, ministry leaders, sales professionals, authors and creatives, and any leader who knows their time is their most important and precious commodity, which leads to an important question. How much time does Free to Focus actually take? I mean, after all, you're busy, right? Well, less time than you think. In fact, just 30 minutes a day for 3 weeks is all that it takes. My 21-day makeover plan, which I described a moment ago, will tell you exactly what to do on each day. It includes built-in time to complete the exercises and apply what you've learned to your own task list, calendar, and email inbox. Free to Focus is available in 3 different editions: Live, Premium, and Basic. All 3 editions include 9 lesson videos, audio downloads of each lesson, exclusive proprietary tools and implementation exercises, 9 downloadable workbooks, plus a special bonus, the Free to Focus Productivity Summit recordings. These interviews reveal the latest strategies and the best tips from cutting-edge productivity experts, people such as Cal Newport or Jason Fried, Gretchen Rubin, Greg McEwen, and many others. They all make up what I call the new productivity movement. With this bonus, you'll receive a video, audio download, and easy-to-scan PDF transcript of every interview. These recordings are a $297 value, and they're my gift to you just for purchasing the course, whatever edition you choose. So maybe you're wondering, what are the differences between these 3 editions, Live, Premium, and Basic? So let's start with Live. This is truly the ultimate way to experience the course. It includes 2 VIP tickets to my live Free to Focus Productivity Intensive on November the 15th and 16th this year in Nashville, Tennessee. 1 ticket for you and 1 for a friend, a colleague, or perhaps your spouse. And I've designed an exclusive 2-day workshop specifically for only the busiest, most motivated executives, entrepreneurs, and leaders, those who want to fast track their success and become Free to Focus ninjas in no time flat. And over these 2 action-packed days, I will personally walk you through the entire Free to Focus curriculum, coach you through my proprietary tools, and help you apply them to your unique context. Oops, missed the screen there. All righty. There are really 3 reasons that you should consider the Free to Focus Live Edition. First, personal instruction. My team and I will work with you to ensure that you leave with a no-fail plan that's customized to your specific situation so you can experience the breakthrough that you need. That said, to ensure you get the personal attention you need from me and my staff, I'm limiting this opportunity to 100 people. That's it. Secondly, you'll experience accelerated implementation. If you're a high achiever looking for a revolutionary productivity system, you might feel too busy to go through a 21-day course curriculum. Well, the Live Intensive accelerates the entire process. You'll experience the 21-day transformation in 1/10 the time. And finally, community inspiration. You'll be in a room full of leaders just like you, facing the same challenges that you're facing and working together toward the same breakthroughs. The connections you make during this experience will further accelerate your progress and provide a source of ongoing support as you leave our time together and attempt to implement all that you've learned. So if you want personal coaching from me, if you want to fast track your results, and if you want to learn alongside other high-powered leaders, the Free to Focus Live Edition of the course is for you. Plus, the Live Edition comes with 3 incredible bonuses. Quickly, first, the Executive Time Saver Bundle, which includes 5 plug-and-play solutions that'll save you countless hours, including your recipe for a productive day. This is an ebook and a companion set of worksheets to help you design a morning and evening ritual that will set you up to win. Then Productivity for Road Warriors, 2 videos and 2 packing lists that'll help you expertly pack your overnight bag and briefcase in no time and be more productive than you ever thought possible while you're on the road. Then your secret productivity weapon, a series of interviews with my executive assistant revealing how you can find, train, and leverage a world-class executive assistant. By the way, this particular bonus is awesome. It's not what they teach in business school. You've probably never gotten this training, and it's why you're probably underutilizing your assistant if you have one. Then my ultimate time-saving email templates, a collection of more than 45 email templates that will slash your email response time dramatically. And then less clutter, more focus, an instructional video and detailed PDF to help you organize your workspace for maximum efficiency and give you a strategy for how to do that. This entire bonus is a $485 value. Second, you get the Insider's Tech Toolbox worth $47. If you want to cut through the noise and clutter and stop wasting time trying to find the best apps and the best tech tools for maximum productivity, this is the bonus for you. It contains 5 in-depth screencasts, me showing you my screen, demoing my favorite productivity tools, and showing you exactly how I use those tools. Apps like Nozbe, Evernote, Slack, Workflowy, and Text Expander. Again, that's the Insider's Tech Toolbox. And then finally, third, you'll also receive access to our Free to Focus private Facebook group valued at $997. You know, we offer groups like this for several of our products. In fact, I think almost all of them. And people have told us that having the Facebook group is worth the investment all by itself. Why? Well, the research shows that one of the best ways to make progress towards major goals is to do it with a group of like-minded people, which means the Free to Focus Facebook group will help guarantee your success. It's like buying an insurance policy. And it's all yours, the Free to Focus Live Edition, including the 9 lesson videos, the audio downloads, proprietary tools and exercises, the course workbook, the summit recordings, the Executive Time Saver Bundle, the Insider's Tech Toolbox, the private Facebook group, plus 2 VIP tickets to the live event in Nashville, Tennessee. If you're after a truly elite experience, one designed to help you go further, faster, the live edition is for you. But again, you're going to need to move quickly because we've only got 100 slots available and they're going fast. In fact, we're over half sold out already. The live edition is available for 4 monthly payments of $539. Or you can save $371 with one single payment of $1,797. Now, for those of you who are unable to make the trip to Nashville, we also offer the Premium Edition. With Premium, you get everything in the live edition with the exception, of course, of the event tickets. This includes all the bonuses as you can see here. The Premium Edition is available for 4 monthly payments of $239, or you can save $159 with one single payment of $797. Frankly, with the self-directed path through the course, this is our most popular edition. And to ensure, though, that Free to Focus is accessible on any budget, we also offer the Basic Edition. Now, with Basic, you forego most of the bonuses, but you have complete access to the core lesson content and the astounding results it provides. The Basic Edition is available for 4 monthly payments of $119, or you can save $79 with one single payment of $397. What's reclaiming 10 to 20 hours each week for your most important projects worth to you? That's how I would think about it. What if you could focus on more income producing activities, more high leverage, high priority projects, while simultaneously freeing time for your health and for your most significant relationships? Now, multiply that value over the course of a year. We're talking thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars. Look, time is the most precious resource that you and I have. We can't get any more of it. You can only get it back. And that's what Free to Focus offers, the ability to reclaim hundreds of hours over the course of a year and in the years to come. But to make this a no-brainer purchase, I also offer my ironclad money-back guarantee. And here's what it says. If you purchase this course today and don't agree that it's worth every penny, just send me an email at michael@freetofocus.com and I'll promptly refund your money. No questions asked, no hassle. Free to Focus is, in other words, a risk-free purchase. Again, I've tried to make it a no-brainer. You have nothing to lose, everything to gain. You've got my word on it. So if you're ready to step off the hamster wheel, you can start right now at freetofocus.com/join. But don't miss this. Registration for Free to Focus closes at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time on September the 29th. And we won't open public enrollment again for months. So please take my advice and don't delay. This is your moment. Now, you joined this webinar because there are important projects. There are meaningful hours with your loved ones waiting on the other side of the workday challenges that you're facing. You really do have what it takes to take control of your time. Trust me, I've seen it happen to hundreds and hundreds of people. You've got what it takes to keep the distractions at bay and finally be free to focus on what matters most. But if you're not careful, years can fly by while you're still stuck on the hamster wheel, struggling against office overwhelm. And that's exactly why so many leaders never get the chance to tackle those significant projects that'll catapult their business forward or invest at their highest level in their most important relationships or in their health or even in their passions. But that doesn't have to be the case for you. In just 21 days, your life could be drastically different. You could be working fewer hours and achieving exponentially more results. The bottom line is that coaching, like the coaching I provide in the course, can help you go further, faster. I've walked this road before and I can guide you along the way, but only if you take advantage of this course right now. And again, you can get started with Free to Focus today for as little as $119. So what are you waiting for? And to give you just one more reason, if you order before this webinar ends, and you still have time because we've got the Q&A to go here in just a few minutes, I'll also give you the email domination system, top hacks for taming your inbox with templates, batching, and time-saving shortcuts. And in this screencast where I show you my screen, you'll actually walk through it with me. I'll show you how I stay on top of email in just 30 minutes a day. Plus the 6 simple habits you can use to cut your email load by 85%. It even comes with a cheat sheet and a library of templates. This powerful bonus is one of the most popular resources I've ever created. And the deadline to qualify for it is already passed, but I'm making it available just one more time as a free gift to those of you who are on this webinar who enroll in Free to Focus before we end the webinar in just a few minutes. So sign up now and you'll see it in your course bonuses within an hour of signing up. But again, remember, you've got to register before we finish the Q&A, which we're going to do in just a few seconds. Now, if you remember back at the beginning of the webinar, I promised you a bonus just for staying on until the end of the webinar. And now I want to give it to you. Again, it's called the More Sleep, More Success Power Pack. And you can download it free at freetofocus.com/sleep. freetofocus.com/sleep. You don't have to do it right now because I want you to focus on the Q&A session, but it'll be available for a few more days. And with that, I'm going to turn my camera back on and turn it back over to Mandy to lead us through our Q&A. Mandy, you there?
Hey, Michael, I'm here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
Man, that was fantastic. You just covered so much incredible content so quickly.
Well, thank you. I kind of enjoy this content, and I know that people are getting real help because I've seen some of the chat that's been flying by.
Definitely. And you know what, Michael, it really shows how much you love it. And we've been getting tremendous feedback. Rose wrote in and said, deep insights that have changed the way I see work and what I consider work. And Sharon said, wow, this was an eye-opener, meaning that I can relate to everything you said under the deadly sins. It is exactly what's happening to me.
How encouraging.
Yes. And Michael, I absolutely loved this comment that came in from Andrew Brewer on Twitter. Andrew said, moment of confession, this may be my second time through the webinar. Hashtag free to really focus.
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
Fantastic.
Well, Michael, the session has been great and we are getting so many questions from hundreds of people still on the line with us. So I want to dive in and get to as many of those as we can. But first, I thought we might give away some Facebook prizes. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. I thought you might want to do that.
Yes, it's my favorite part. Let's give away all the free things. So I'd like to say a huge congratulations to Lee Brewster and David Von Brugge. Lee shared our post, so Lee, thank you for that. And Michael, you're going to love this comment that came in from David. David said, if I could triple my productivity, I would be able to make sure that I could complete my business tasks during the day to focus on my family during the evening.
Love that. That's what it's all about. And that's the whole purpose of the course.
It absolutely is. Well, congratulations again to Lee and David. You guys have both won access to Michael's goal setting course, 5 Days to Your Best Year Ever. Just shoot an email to our team at support@freetofocus.com and they will get you all set up with your prizes. Now, Michael, are you ready to dive into some questions?
I can't wait. I always love doing this.
This is my favorite part of every webinar. I
Me
love
too.
these Q&As. All right, this one is so great. Came in from an anonymous attendee about how to turn work off at the end of the day. They said, is there a best way to transition from a productive work day to a night of calm, peaceful R&R with family? I always feel like my mind is still reeling from work.
Yeah, that's a great, great question. So I actually have 2 tips for you. First of all, establish a hard boundary. So for me, it's 6 p.m. In fact, I even reinforce it because this is my office where I'm at. I've got a home automation system so that the lights automatically go off at 6. I call that in the course an activation trigger, but it's huge in terms of getting me out of the office on time. So a hard boundary. And the reason for that is something I said in the webinar, just kind of in passing. And that is Parkinson's law, that our work expands to the time allotted for it, so that if you think to yourself, well, if I don't get done by the end of the day, I could push it into the evening. That's why we drag work into the evening. But Hyatt's corollary is the opposite of that. And that is the work contracts to the time allotted for it. So when you know you absolutely positively are going to leave the office by 6, guess what? The work contracts. You stay focused. You're not as easily distracted. So that's the first tip that I would offer. The second thing I would do, and I teach you how to do this in the course, but establish a workday shutdown ritual so that you have a period of about 30 to 45 minutes of transition time, kind of as a buffer between work and your family time or your alone time, so that you can kind of decompress and get your head around really some of the most important stuff we do, which is to spend time with our loved ones.
Yes, absolutely. And that shutdown ritual has been a game changer for our team, especially because we all work from home. And for folks who do their work from home, those lines between work and personal life are especially blurry, aren't they?
They are. And you got to have some strategy for dealing with it. Otherwise, you're going to be working 24/7.
Yes, definitely. All right. Great question from Paul about how you keep track of your tasks without tracking obsessively. He says, how do you balance not wanting to track obsessively with not having things start falling through the cracks?
That's a great question, but I would suggest that there's a question you should ask before that. And the question is this a task that I should be doing? Right? Mm-hmm. And this is the problem, by the way, and I love getting things done. You know, some people refer to that as GTD. I've used it for, I don't know, since the book first came out in the early part of this century. And David Allen's a friend. But here's the problem with getting things done. It doesn't, and I just reread this recently to just double check. It doesn't provide a filter for evaluating the tasks that are coming into your life. So everything just kind of comes in and it's got to go on a task list. And pretty soon you're overwhelmed and you're spending more time managing the system than actually doing the tasks. So what I provide in Free to Focus is something I call the Freedom Compass. And the Freedom Compass is a framework for evaluating every request, every appointment, every project, everything you're tempted to do, and ask yourself the question, could I eliminate it? Could I automate it? Could I delegate it? But you've got to have a way to evaluate these tasks. And that's what the Freedom Compass does inside of the course. So I think that's the first question before how do I make sure everything doesn't fall through the cracks? Because the truth is, like in my life, I've got very few tasks that I have to manage because not much makes it onto my task list. Only the things that I'm uniquely equipped to do, the things that I have the passion for and the proficiency. Otherwise, somebody else on the team does it. And you may be wondering, well, that's probably nice for you, but how do I get there? I explain that all inside the course.
That's fantastic, Michael. Now, great question here from Carl about how to set boundaries and how to push stuff away from you that shouldn't be with you. Carl says, what techniques do you suggest to say no in a firm but polite fashion in order to avoid distractions?
Yeah, one of the things I teach inside the course is how to say no. And it's a simple 3-part framework that takes the sting out of it for you and for the person on the receiving end. And most of us have been taught a lot about how to say yes. In fact, we're probably addicted to yes. We don't want to disappoint people. We don't want to just have those people think that we're somehow not pulling our weight. But we've never been taught how to say no. And so we avoid it, right? Or we might get angry and lash out at somebody, and then we have a lot of regrets. But I teach you specifically using a 3-part framework inside the course how to say no. And all I can say is that it's possible for you to do it in a way that the other person, and we've literally seen this happen over and over again, thanks you for your response.
Yes, I absolutely love that framework because frankly, I'm someone who has struggled to say no before, and it made it so much easier for me to do it in a positive and effective way. You guys will love this content. Now, Michael, we're getting tons of questions about the course, so I would love to tackle a few of those if you're ready.
Okay, sure.
Great one from Jim here about working as a solopreneur. He says, Michael, I am a sole practitioner, actually a financial advisor in charge of my own business. I don't have associates to delegate to. So would Free to Focus still help me?
Yes, it will absolutely help you because it will enable you to eventually get an assistant to whom you can delegate. And you may say, well, I could just never afford that. Well, there's about 3 things you have to do before you even ask that question. And the problem is that sometimes we don't get clarity about what we need because we're too busy asking the question or focusing on the resources. So before we ever get clear on what we need, we're saying, well, I couldn't afford it. But you might be able to afford it. So even if you don't have an assistant, I'll show you in the course how to still eliminate and automate a ton of the stuff that's on your list. And it may be possible for you to delegate to people that aren't under your authority. So I talk about delegation even for people that don't have a team to delegate to. It's an art and it's possible. And I practiced it long before I had a team.
Love that, Michael. Now, great question here from Phil about the course's ability to change our behavior. Phil says most change tends to require behavior changes. So what is your experience in observing your customers or clients actually changing their behavior as a result of this course?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're 100% right. The best course in the world is not going to help you unless you take action.
Yes.
So here's 2 things that have to happen. Number 1, you actually have to go through the course material. Unlike the Matrix, there's no chip or plug that we can put in the back of your head and do an automatic download, right? So you have to go through the content. That's, by the way, one of the reasons I like the live edition of the course, because you can do that in 2 days. But regardless, if you do it in 21 days, it's 30 minutes a day. So you got to go through it. Secondly, you've got to work through the exercises. And there are some people that think maybe they're too smart for the exercises or they can just pass them by. No, these are designed to incrementally change your behavior so that when you get to the end of 21 days, you've experienced a transformation. And, I shared 3 testimonies in the course of the webinar. Trust me, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more from people who have posted in the private Facebook group about what they've experienced as a result of Free to Focus. And I'm going to tell you something. It's been astonishing. In fact, if you go, I think these are on this page. If you go to freetofocus.com/join, there are some additional testimonies. And I mean, there's one really dramatic one there about a person who says the course changed or saved her life. So I'll let you read that for yourself.
Absolutely so. Well, Michael, we are getting lots of questions about the bonuses that are available with this course, and
Okay.
especially questions about that email domination system bonus. Steve wrote in and said, I missed it. How do I get that email bonus? And Shannon wrote in and said, how do I get the email template bonus if I order before the webinar ends? Can you explain that to us?
Yeah. First of all, it's only available for those of you who register for the course before this webinar ends. And we have a few more minutes, and Mandy's got a knack for stringing this out, but she's not going to string it out too much longer. So you need to act now. But on the registration page, you might notice that it says that that particular bonus is no longer available. That's true. It's not to the general public, but it is available to you, and you'll see it show up inside the course after you register within about an hour of registering for the course. So that's the only way you can get it, is being on this webinar. You're here. This is your chance to get it.
Absolutely. Well, as Michael mentioned, the only way that you can get a hold of that bonus is if you register while the webinar is still going on. I'm going to ask as many questions as I can to give you guys time to do that, but I don't want you to wait. I want you to head on over to freetofocus.com/join. The deadline for this bonus has already passed, and so in order to get your hands on it, you've got to register while the webinar is still happening. So listen in and hear the rest of the Q&A. And by the way, if you guys have questions for Michael that we haven't addressed yet, feel free to share those in the Q&A area now. Again, I'll sneak in as many as possible to buy you some time, but head on over to freetofocus.com/join while you're listening to enroll, because I don't want any of you guys to miss that special bonus. So Michael, while they do that, I would love to turn to a few more questions if you're up for that.
Sure. You bet.
All right. I love this question about the 21-day makeover plan. James Kelly said, the 21-day makeover plan versus Free to Focus, what's the difference between the two of them?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think James is wondering about the 21-day makeover plan and how that interrelates with the Free to Focus course.
Okay. Well, basically it's a roadmap. So it basically takes you by the hand. If I were coaching you one-on-one, here's what I'd say. Okay, day one, let's say that you were starting tomorrow. So you would just sit down with the course, and I would point to tomorrow as the first day, and I would say, here's what you need to do today. And then the next day I'd say, here's what you need to do the next day. And we incrementally work through the course piece by piece, all the 9 lessons, so that at the end of that 21 days, and we even give you a day off on the weekends, but working through those 21 days, you'll be finished with the course. You will have digested all the content, and you will have worked through all the exercises in that 21 days. So it's an implementation plan.
Absolutely so, Michael. All right. Really fantastic question here from another Michael who's joining us live. We've actually seen this one come in from a few different folks who are in the clergy. Michael says, will Free to Focus be applicable in church ministry? Do you know if priests or ministers have used that before and how it's worked for them?
Yes, I would say probably about 15 to 20% of our students are in ministry. I attract a lot of those people. And I will say this, it's absolutely, utterly essential if you're in ministry. And I know that's a strong statement, but let me tell you something. Ministry is something that eats people alive. Yes. And unfortunately, and this is why I feel so emotional about this, I've witnessed families where the dad, the pastor, was gone all the time, and the kids suffered. And I've seen marriages blow up in ministry, and kids go off the rails in ministry. And just as bad, I've seen ministers whose health has failed. They've died prematurely because all they're doing is ministry, and their work is so guilt-laden because it's got this whole layer of, God called me to this, and therefore he expects me, to pour myself out and sacrifice everything. No, I really don't think that's true. I think that's really bad theology. I think as a steward over the body, over the temple you've been given, which is everything, all the hardware and all the software that's you got to take care of it. And Free to Focus will enable you to do that so that you're in ministry for the long haul. And one of my convictions, and I'm sorry I'm going on and on about this, but one of my convictions about ministry and about leadership in general is that it starts with self-leadership. And if you don't get this right for you as a leader, you're going to replicate bad habits, bad practices in the lives of the people that you're trying to serve. I mean, if they see you working all the time, giving up your evenings and your weekends and never spending time with your family, guess what's going to happen? It's the law of replication. They're going to do exactly what you're doing and to their detriment. So I think you've got to model the behavior that you want them to exhibit. So that's why I feel so strongly. If you're in the clergy, if you're in the ministry, this is a must. And by the way, if it's not my program, get some program, but you've got to figure this out. You've got to be able to have the freedom to be present with the people that you love the most, to be focused on what's most important, to be spontaneous and all the rest.
Absolutely so. That is incredible guidance there, Michael, and I think so relevant to so many of us. So thank you for that. Now, as you guys can see, our countdown clock has already expired. I mean, these Q&As always fly by. But Michael, we have still got hundreds of folks on the line and questions just flooding in. So if you've got a few extra minutes to share with us, I'd love to stay on the line and answer just a few more. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Well, we've got some great questions coming up about certificates of completion with the course and how to get reimbursed for part of it. We've got questions about prioritizing. So we're going to dig into all of those in a moment. But for those who need to slip away, I know we want to honor their time. So for those who do need to go, do you have any parting thoughts to share with them?
I do. I want to tell you a story. Early in my career, I was convinced. I remember my first job out of college. I was working for a small publishing company in Texas, and I would go in the morning at 5:00, and I was coming home at about 7, which was problematic because we soon had a bunch of children. We ended up having 5 in 10 years, but I was working long hours at that job initially. And I said to Gail, my wife, I said, "Hey, babe, it's only temporary. As soon as I get through kind of getting acclimated to this new job, I'll have the time to give to you and to give to the family and all the rest." And then, we bought a house, and that put more financial pressure on me. And then I would say to Gail, "Look, babe, I got to work hard because I got to get that promotion." And then I did get that promotion. And then I said to Gail, "Hey, babe, this promotion's, I'm really trying to learn this new job and I want to do a great job. And so as soon as I get through this, I'll have the time for you and for the family." And by this time, I'm not working out. I'm not eating very well. I could almost feel my health, deteriorating. And it was like that over and over and over again until I did hit a crisis. And I went through a health crisis. And I won't get into all that here. But here's the point I want to make. If you're not careful, it's easy to convince yourself that the situation you're in right now is temporary. The problem is string a bunch of temporary situations together and you've got something that looks very permanent, right? And if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably permanent. And here's reality. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting the same results you've been getting. Something has to change. And I'm telling you, if you don't, here's what's going to happen. You're going to drift to a destination you would not have chosen. It might be a health crisis where you end up in the hospital like I did in the ER, thinking I was having a heart attack. That was a major perspective shift. Or you may blow out a relationship when your spouse walks out the door and says, "I've had it." Or one of your kids goes off the rails. There's a number of things that could happen. I don't want to wait personally, and I wouldn't advise you to wait for a crisis to make an adjustment. This is your opportunity to be proactive, to re-engineer your life and your work so that it serves your life, so that you can be at your best and experience the freedom that it takes for us as humans to realize our potential. So again, if it's not this course, fine. But all I'm saying is if you want something to change, you've got to make the change. And Free to Focus that's my heart. That's why I designed this, because I want to help you guys win at work and succeed at life. It's that simple.
Wow, Michael. I absolutely love what you shared there because I think so many of us do fall into that trap of thinking that it's temporary and never making a change because we expect the circumstances to change around us. So thank you so much for those thoughts. And for those who do need to speak away, we want to honor your day. We want to let you do that. But I really hope that on your way out, you will head on over to freetofocus.com/join. We would love to continue coaching and serving you there. And if you go right now, you're still going to qualify for that amazing fast action bonus, the email domination domination system that's going to help you tame your inbox once and for all. So again, if you need to slip away, please feel free to do so. We're going to dig into some more questions here because Michael has said that we can. And for those who are staying on the line with us, I want to let you know we're going to timestamp when the webinar actually ends. And so as long as you enroll while we're still talking, you'll still be able to qualify for that special bonus, even though the countdown clock has already expired. So no matter what level you purchase, if you enroll right now, you'll still get that amazing email domination system bonus. So if you want to stay for the Q&A, please do, but head on over to freetofocus.com/join while you do that so that you can snag that special bonus while Michael answers a few final questions here. Now, Michael, great question from Christy here coming in about our live event. She says, can you tell us more about the November Nashville dates? What time each day would we meet and what can we expect that to look like?
I actually don't remember what time we start. I think it's about 8:30 and we pretty much go through 5 and it's for 2 days. And I just walk you through each of the 9 lessons one at a time. So the fun part about it is that you're in a room with basically 100 other people. And so it's small enough to be intimate. I'll give some instruction and then I give an assignment and then I walk around the room. I'm available. My team's available too because they've all been coached through this stuff and we're there to answer your questions. Then you might share in a small group. You might share with the big group. You might have questions. You might need further follow-up. But we do a variety of activities that keeps it interesting, keeps everybody's energy up, and keeps you learning. And the best part about it is that you walk out of the day on day 2 with a certificate of completion. And more importantly, you will have your own plan to be free to focus. So you will have worked through all the content, worked through all the exercises, and now you got a plan to put it into practice when you hit the ground running the next day.
Awesome, Michael. Now, I love that you just mentioned the certificate of completion. We actually got a question about that from Amanda. She said, are certificates of completion given once you finish the program? Because I can actually get half of the training costs reimbursed, but I have to provide proof that I finished your program.
Absolutely. So no matter what edition, whether it's basic, premium, or live, we offer a certificate of completion. It'll have your name on it. It's a beautiful little certificate. And you can hang it on your wall. You'd be proud to display it. But yes, you can also use it for reimbursement.
Well, I love that. And you know, Christy and Amanda, if you guys decided to enroll right now, you would not be alone. I love Tracy just wrote in and said, I already registered for the live event in Nashville and I can't wait. Isn't that so exciting, Michael?
That's very exciting.
And so for any of you guys who are still with us on the line, if you've decided to enroll in Free to Focus, jump into the Q&A area and let us know that you're in because we would love to be able to celebrate you. Now, Michael, really fantastic question from Kim Martin. We've actually seen this from 4 or 5 different people in the last few minutes. Kim says, if I sign up, do I have to start right away and go through the course within a certain time frame, or can I begin the course and go through it at my own pace?
Yeah, great question. I designed this as a self-directed course. And here's what that means. That means you're in the driver's seat. If you want to start this tomorrow, actually you could start it today, right? If you want to go through it as we recommend over a 21-day period or come to the live edition and do it 2 days, or if you want to do, a lesson a week for the next 9 weeks, you can do whatever you want. You can start whenever you want. You can finish whenever you want. You can pause it if necessary. It's totally up to you. We don't monitor that. You monitor yourself, but you basically have access to your edition of the course for as long as the internet's up.
Love that, Michael. All right. Now, great question from Jonathan Carlson, because not all of us have the luxury of controlling the culture in which we work. And Jonathan says, how do I manage expectations as an employee when some of these deadly sins are ingrained in the work culture? Yeah. For example, constant responsiveness to email is expected and everyone does it.
Yeah, one of the reasons things persist in culture, and I've done a lot of study about culture because I really do believe that culture drives results, both good and bad. But one of the reasons things persist in a culture is because nobody stops to question the underlying assumptions. And one of the gifts that you can bring to your team, and this is one of the things that I did when I was in the publishing business at Thomas Nelson Publishers, I just started questioning. Even though I was like a mid-level manager, I started questioning some of the things that were true in our culture because I started noticing things that were getting in the way of my team and I achieving the results that we've been given to achieve. And so it begins, I think, first of all, with noticing. hopefully by going through this webinar, you have an acute awareness of the power of distractions to derail us when it comes to true productivity. And so now that you've noticed it, now you can take the initiative to have a conversation, because the truth is, and I promise you, I've seen this happen over and over again. If you raise the issue and say, here's what I'm experiencing, my bet is that your colleagues say, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one. And no, everybody's experiencing it. And they will thank you for bringing it up, especially, if you don't do it in a preachy kind of way, but you just say, hey, look, I need some help with this, guys. It seems to me like we have this sort of unspoken expectation that everything demands an immediate response. And here's what happens to me is every time I give that immediate response, I lose focus on what I'm doing. And I can't do my best work on the things that really matter. So I'm wondering if we could brainstorm together on how we might take a different approach or reset our expectations about what response times should look like. So that can be a very important, profitable conversation. And if you lead it, that makes you a leader.
Absolutely. I think it's a great opportunity for them to exhibit some leadership and shift the culture within their team. So, Michael, is this course still a fit for folks who are in that situation? Maybe they're not CEOs or entrepreneurs. If you're working within a culture like that, is this course still going to be beneficial?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, unlike a CEO or a business owner, I don't have 100% discretion over my time, right? So I just can't re-engineer everything and do it differently because I've got these expectations and, they come from my boss, they come from the culture, they come from my colleagues. I'm swimming in this environment. Here's the thing. You may not have as much discretion over your time as you think. And by the way, those CEOs and business owners don't have as much either as you think, because I've been both. But if you could just take control of the time you do have discretion over, that could make a huge difference, right? So maybe even if that's only a couple hours a day, how are you spending those hours, those couple hours a day now? Are they productive? Or are those also kind of frittered away because you don't have a plan or a strategy or a tool or a system for dealing with them? So my conviction is that Free to Focus will work for anyone at any level because all of us have some discretionary time. Actually, let me just clarify this. If you're an emergency room doctor, this is not going to help you because you probably don't have any discretionary time. The way you spend your time is determined by, who gets off the gurney next. Or if you're a customer service representative and you're expected to answer email all day long, every day, this is probably not a good fit for you either. But other than that, I think it's a terrific fit.
Absolutely so. Well, Michael, I so appreciate your time during the webinar today. We have got folks who are still flooding into the course. Stella just wrote in and said, hi, I'm in the UK and I just signed up. We had another anonymous attendee who said, I just purchased the basic course, so welcome to you. I'm seeing Miranda and Anna, Patricia, Bart, Mark. I'm seeing Douglas and Eli and Kevin and Shane. Guys, wherever you are and whatever level you've joined at, we just want to welcome you. Don't you love seeing people come to the course, Michael?
I do. Welcome, guys. I can't wait to interact with you in the private Facebook group, assuming you're in the premium version of the course.
Absolutely. So congratulations to all of you. We are so excited to have you. That anonymous attendee who purchased Basics said, how do I access the course? Can you tell us?
Yeah, all you got to do is go to the registration page. If you haven't already, once you register, you're going to get an email from us that's going to give you your student credentials. So it's going to give you a username and a password, and you're going to be able to log in and get to the course. And it's available right now. It's sitting there waiting for you. So you just go to freetofocus.com. It'll say, right now there's a registration page that describes the course. But I think, I'm not looking at it right now, but I think it has members login or student login, and you'll click on that, enter your credentials, bam, you can start the course.
Yes, immediate access to the course anywhere in the world, no shipping charges. And because you purchased during the webinar, you'll also see that special fast action bonus, the email domination system. Once our team has finished tagging everyone who bought during the webinar, it'll be sent out and it'll be in the bonuses area of your membership portal within about an hour. So for anyone who's still on the fence, I'm about to ask Michael for a few final thoughts as we officially bring this webinar to a close. But while he provides those to us, I want to encourage you to head on over to freetofocus.com/ free.focus.com/join. It's your last opportunity to head on over there, enroll for the course. No matter which edition you purchase, you'll get that special fast action bonus, the email domination system. I don't want you to miss it. So I want you to head that way right now. And Michael, while they do that, I wonder if you could share some final thoughts with us, especially for those who are maybe on the fence and maybe wrestling with a little disbelief. Maybe they're working in, a really broken work culture and lots of hours and constant responsiveness are expected from them. Or maybe they've just been busy and overwhelmed on the job for years and don't believe things can be any different. Do you have any advice for us there?
Yes. First of all, the fact that you're still on this webinar is, I think, a clue and something you should pay attention to very carefully. I think what this speaks to is that you feel a deep need. I mean, you wouldn't spend your time on the webinar unless you feel a need for what this webinar offers and what this course offers. I mean, you could have just jumped off at the end of the webinar and not stayed for the Q&A, but there's something about inside of you that resonates with this and you need it, right? And so I get where you might have disbelief. You may be wondering if it's right for you. This is exactly why I created the 30-day money-back guarantee. I wanted to take the risk out of it for you. So especially for people that are not sure, they can pull the trigger with the confidence that even if they go through the course, first of all, even if you wake up tomorrow and say, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I got lured into, to this thing and I got mesmerized and I made a purchase and I shouldn't have. No problem. Send an email to michael@free2focus.com. No hassle. No questions. We'll refund your money like that. If you wake up 21 days from now, you go through the entire course and you say, it was so-so. It didn't really change that much. It was okay, I guess. Not a problem. Ask for a refund. We'll give it to you. I'm trying to take the risk out of it for you so that if you're hesitant, if you're not quite sure, you've got nothing to lose. Here's the problem. The point of absolute certainty is never going to come until you try it, right? I mean, there's a little bit of faith that you have to exercise, but there's a net. You can jump and there's a net. So I would just encourage you to give it a try. And the reason it's so important, because if something doesn't change, nothing's going to change. If something doesn't change, you're going to continue to have the same lack of work-life balance, the same frustrations that you're experiencing right now. So doesn't it make sense if you want something different, that you need to try something different? Free to Focus may just be your ticket out of the crazy.
Man.
That's all I have to say.
I love that, Michael. I think so many of us are desperate for a ticket out of the crazy. And I can truly attest to the fact that Free to Focus is that. We are not just promoting it. We use this. We have field tested this system with our team. It's bought our way out of the crazy. It's given us so much more free time and margin. I know it can do that for you. And like you said, that temporary trap is so prevalent. We actually had David who just wrote in and was asking a question about whether he should wait for his circumstances to change or not. And I think you're dead on, Michael. I think that our circumstances aren't necessarily going to change. We have to change the way we're handling our circumstances. And so, Michael, I want to thank you not only for your insightful answers during this Q&A, but for the webinar as a whole. We're continuing to get such incredible feedback. Tel Marie wrote in and said, I love this webinar. It made me realize how much time I've been wasting. It's such an eye-opener, and I'm so glad that I came across it. And Betty wrote in and said, I love your enthusiasm and joy. This is my favorite webinar ever. So, Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mandy. Thank you for hosting this. And thanks to our team behind the scenes who's been patiently and consistently answering questions and providing links and all the rest. We don't take that for granted. So thank you.
Absolutely. So we could not do it without you guys. And of course, we want to thank all of you who've joined us for this webinar and stuck with us through the end of this Q&A. We know how busy you guys are, and so we don't take it lightly that you've chosen to invest some time with us today. We really appreciate it, and we really hope that you're leaving today equipped with some practical tips that you can use to experience an immediate boost in your productivity, whether you join the course or not. But we also really hope that you guys will consider joining us inside the Free to Focus course.
Mhm.
Like Michael just mentioned, the fact that you have come to this webinar and stayed with us for so long is an indication that this is content that you need in order to make time for the things that matter most in your life. And I can tell you from personal experience that the Free to Focus course is going to help you do just that. So in these final moments, I want to encourage you to head on over to freetofocus.com/join. If you enroll right now, you'll still be able to qualify for that incredible fast action bonus, the email domination system, which is going to help you tame your inbox. We don't want any of you to miss out on that special resource. So again, head on over to freetofocus.com/join right now to enroll. And we look forward to continuing to serve and interact with each and every one of you guys over there inside of the course. In the meantime, thank you again for your time today. And Michael, we want to thank you one more time. This has been a fantastic presentation.
Thanks, Mandy. I appreciate it.
Have a great day, guys, and thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.